Stevens on your left, your 2017 SCG Tour Player of the Year. Jadine Klomparens on your right. Green-White Company, Jund, and this should be a good one. I think it could take a while.
Oh, this is, I am sure that Todd Stevens gets up early in the morning for exactly this kind of matchup.
Matchups just like this one?
Let's settle in. Klomparens on a mulligan to 6, Scry to the top.
Noble Hierarch off of 4 is where Todd Stevens will start. Jadine with a Wooded Foothills to get her day started.
And I have not watched this matchup. And Jadine is not your average Jund player, of course, but I have to imagine this is exactly the kind of matchup that Todd wants to play. Goes on for a long time, and all his sources of long-term card advantage line up very well here.
This seems like it would be difficult for Klomparens. It really does. Courser, Knight of the Reliquary, Reminep Excavator, a whole bunch of other things going on. Now, that is a card that Stevens will have some difficulty with, unless he does have a path. And it looks like he did draw his singleton copy of Dromoka's Command. So here's an attack. That's going to go through. And now Dromoka's Command is going to, of course, make that Hierarch from a 1-2 into a 2-3, which will kill Dark Confidant. So a timely draw step there for Todd Stevens.
And Klomparens would have loved that for that Confidant to stick to give her some staying power in this long game. I think in this matchup, though, she's going to have to be the aggressor. If things drag out, Stevens' interlocking sources of card advantage and collected companies, I think, are going to overwhelm Klomparens over a timeline that long. So.
And your good pal, Voice of Resurgence.
And do not forget Voice of Resurgence, which is a 2-2 with several lines of text.
I think a paragraph's worth.
Oh, yeah. It goes on. Here it is.
Yeah.
So we're basically done. Yeah. Stevens has the short game locked up here, and now we just play a long game where he's also favored.
Now you kill the Voice of Resurgence. That's what did you even do?
What did you even do?
Yeah. I think this might be like your least favorite card in recent memory.
It's not my least favorite because it provides a lot of joy to people without actually being particularly good.
Okay.
And it's rare that you find cards like that.
Sure.
To circle back to various Navigators Compasses debates that have been swirling on the internet.
How have I missed all of these debates? I sit on Twitter all day.
I just, the cards that are fun and appealing and not actually very good, those are masterful designs. You don't come across those very frequently. So Voice of Resurgence, it's not for me, but it's clearly for some people.
19-14 in favor of Stevens right now. He's off to a great start. Had a path to exile for the second Dark Confidant. The very powerful Voice of Resurgence and Noble Hierarch is sitting in a 1-2. They can attack the 2-3 at times. Jadine will play a third Dark Confidant. Really could use some card advantage here as we head back over to Stevens, who's drawn a copy of Collected Company. Stevens will take a look at the top 6 cards. A lot of big hits here for Todd. He does hit 2 cards there, and Tireless Tracker and Scavenging Ooze. Those would count as hits in my book.
Yep.
Here comes Voice of Resurgence, and it's not just a 2-2.
And Stevens has the land to pair with the Tireless Tracker. You want to make sure you get a little something to show for your efforts here with the Tireless Tracker. Don't want that to simply die on Klomparens' turn.
Stevens with the Ghost Quarter. That will make him a clue. Can always, of course, target himself with the Ghost Quarter to make another clue. Tarmogoyf the reveal there for Jadine off of Dark Confidant. That will bring her down to 9. And
this is the squeeze that Klomparens is in right now, that she needs this Dark Confidant to be able to just generate enough material to hang around with all of Stevens' card advantage. But Stevens has been the aggressor so far. He's gotten in some points of damage. And is Klomparens going to be able to manage her life total and keep this Dark Confidant around and win the game as it drags out? Seems very challenging.
I think that's asking a lot, Patrick, especially given the fact that Todd Stevens has not 1 but 2 more copies of Collected Company in hand. That makes things even more difficult, and that doesn't even bring into account the fact that there's a Tireless Tracker that's going to be generating card advantage, Scavenging Ooze that'll be doing its thing. There's a lot going on there for the Green-White Company player. Maelstrom Pulse is where Jadine will start. That'll take care of Tracker. We could see a Tarmogoyf as a follow-up, and we will. And Jadine will just pass the turn back over to Todd. We'll get out a Tarmogoyf die. Let you know if that's a 4-5.
Usual suspects in both graveyards.
And we got Creature, Instant, Sorcery, and Land. Looks like Ghost Quarter number 2 the draw there for Stevens. Let's see if he wants to main phase Collected Company here again. Stevens playing the archetype that he does know best, has been working very hard on this for a little over a year now, as he'll serve in here with the Scavenging Ooze plus an Exalted Trigger. interesting attack. 3/3 into a 4/5, but there are a couple creatures floating around the graveyard.
And Stevens, with that Scavenging Ooze, can also manage the graveyards, exile certain card types to string the Tarmogoyf down should Klomparens block that way.
Well, Jadine will not block, it looks like. Stevens will eat Dark Confidant, grow the Scavenging Ooze by 1, so it'll be an attack for 4. Stevens, of course, will gain a life and go back up to 20, and now here is Collected Company. Top 6 here for Todd once again. Path to Exile among those cards. There's also a Birds of Paradise, but most important there is 2 copies of Knight of the Reliquary. Also join the battlefield. There are at least 3/3s, potentially a lot more than that, given the Ghost Quarters that are on the battlefield. Jadine will reveal a Bloodstained Mire to Dark Confidant. Not going to take any damage, but a land certainly doesn't help right now either.
Yep. This is a dispiriting game here from Klomparens. Had 3 copies of Dark Confidant, what you would imagine be one of her better cards in the matchup, and things are still getting overwhelmed.
Bloodbraid Elf's going to reveal a Tarmogoyf. Jadine will play that Bloodstained Mire she revealed to Dark Confidant and just pass the turn back. But Todd has got his Value Town shop up and running. Not 1, but 2 copies of Knight of the Reliquary. Just picked up a copy of Asusa. Lost but Seeking has at least 1 clue on the battlefield. If he finds a tracker, there will be a whole bunch more. Scavenging Ooze is going to manage the graveyards. And, of course, Voice of Resurgence.
Do not in all this forget the Voice of Resurgence, which is there, ready to generate a token should it die, or generate a token should Klomparens play spell on Todd's turn.
And this is another copy of Collected Company, 3rd one of the game here for Stevens. His namesake card has found another Voice of Resurgence, a Birds of Paradise.
Forget about removal spells or instants, I suppose.
Maybe he'll take 2 Coursers. Yeah. These will go to the bottom. We'll see the top card of his deck. That is a Tireless Tracker. This game is basically over.
Klomparens, I believe, with no main deck damnation, no real way to catch up from this spot.
Todd going to activate the Knight of the Reliquary, sacrifice the Plains, get a Wooded Foothills. That'll trigger the Coursers. Plural, 2 life on the way, up to 22. Top card of the deck now is Horizon Canopy. Hasn't played a land yet. Let's bring him up to 24. Let's see what comes next.
It's interesting to me that Stevens there decided to just shuffle away the Tireless Tracker without really thinking about it. You can see he's committed to just churning the deck over as much as possible. He's not interested in drawing any one individual card, just generating more and more material to overwhelm Klomparens with. Because in this spot, the Tireless Tracker looks good, but Stevens says, I'm just more interested in trying to get a free land, trying to just keep churning through the deck.
Looks like a large Knight of the Reliquary is on the attack here. Looks like Stevens has at least 2 lands in his graveyard, but of course he can make it a whole bunch more.
He can sacrifice his fetch land, sacrifice the Horizon Canopy, Ghost Quarter himself. So if it goes big, if there's a block that Klomparens makes here that forces him to grow the Knights, he has plenty of resources available to do that.
Yeah, Knight on a base level is a 4/4 right now. You throw in that Exalted trigger, we'll call it a 5/5 with the potential for a whole bunch more. You might see a double block here from Jadine. Either way, it's a rock and a hard place here for the Jund player.
Right, and with the Dark Confidant here is, do I chump block? Well, I can't win that way. Do I keep the Confidant around? Seems hard to win that way also.
Well, I take it back, actually. I did not realize that the Scavenging Ooze is also going to be getting into the red zone. So it's not an Exalted attack here for the Knight of the Reliquary. However, the Knight of the Reliquary that is attacking has now just turned into a 5/5. Keep in mind, the Scavenging Ooze currently is a 3/3. Top card's Courser of Krufix. Todd will grow his Scavenging Ooze by removing the tracker from the graveyard. Tarmogoyf is now down to a 3/4.
Yeah.
No other creatures in the graveyard. See what else Stevens is up to this turn. Certainly wants to order the blockers, too. He's thinking about ghost quartering himself, it appears.
Yeah, I mean, on the table, this looks fine to me. If Stevens is getting rid of both the Tarmogoyfs here, then there's no real reason to push any further than this. And it looks like Stevens is shrugging and saying, if you're ready to go, I'm ready to go.
Yep. Both Tarmogoyfs down. This is a Scavenging Ooze for his troubles, but that Ooze did some nice work. And now, of course, the one of Azusa, Lost But Seeking, to really fire up the engines. So we head back over to Jadine. Revealed our Confidant to terminate a little late. As Jadine's going to fall down to 3.
You can't even target the voice with it. It just gets a token.
Yeah. And don't even think about casting that terminate on Todd's turn.
No, that's an elemental.
There's a swamp. Scavenging Ooze.
A little bit of material in the graveyard to work with now. 2 Tarmogoyfs and Scavenging Ooze to eat.
Yeah.
Although I think she might be a little bit bottlenecked on green mana currently.
Has access to potentially 3. I see an Overgrown Tomb. I actually think I see a Twilight Mire out there too.
Oh, if there's a Twilight Mire,
yeah.
then yeah, she's fine.
She's doing just fine. Of course, that Bloodstained Mire can find some of that action too. It's not the Reliquary is going to sacrifice away a forest. Doesn't want another Voice of Resurgence. I know. I know.
It's running up the score at this point.
Looks like Stevens might be going towards Old Gavney Township. Hello.
And Todd has had so much card advantage and so much to do with his mana that the clue is just still in play. He has not gotten around to that.
Top card, Path to Exile. Might want to draw that Horizon Canopy.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me here if Stevens took care of the Scavenging Ooze and just sent in for lethal or near lethal.
There's the Path on the Ooze. Jadine might do a little bit of removing of things in the graveyard in response to gain a little bit of life, maybe make it to the next turn.
I don't think she's going to be able to make it to the next turn with the Gavney Township and Stevens just attacking with everything.
I think it will be difficult. Jadine giving away a little information there. She has Blackcleave Cliffs in her deck. Just spewing info.
Well, I think the one on the table gave that away, probably.
She is spewing it away there. Sloppy, sloppy. Todd will do a little bit of searching himself. Top card, Noble Hierarch. Sacrifice this one. Lose 1, gain 2. Give himself a Temple Garden. Staying at 28. See what the next card is. Nope. That Noble Hierarch does not want to go anywhere.
No.
Just hanging out.
Well, don't worry, because we're not going to get to a draw step here.
Yeah. Are we going to go town? He's going to Ghost Quarter himself. Target his Ghost Quarter. He must be in search of something. There's a forest. Gain some life. Sometimes when you're the mayor of Value Town, you just want to value them into the ground.
You just want to take them on a complimentary tour of Value Town.
There's a forest. That'll trigger a Souza. Looks like he's got a colorless mana floating. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Look at us. Look at us going off.
Yeah. This is one of the major financial districts of Value Town that we're going around right now. Just a tour of the city.
Yep. The czar of Value Town really going to work. The tourism industry is booming right now. Azusa in charge of the Parks and Rec department for sure.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Hello. How you like that attack?
Yeah. Now Klomparens is in the squeeze.
Yeah.
Elemental.
Yeah. Biggest elemental I've ever seen on the way. Yeah, it's actually just an 8/8. It's the biggest elemental I've ever seen. For some reason, a Damnation would be rather humorous right now.
Yeah. Although Todd's deck has no lands in it at this point, so. Oh, and now with the voice off the table, Klomparens free to play some instants.
Yes. And to play another Tarmogoyf, perhaps. No, I guess not, as Todd Stevens will win game number 1 here over Jadine Klomparens. Green-White Company grinds Jund into the ground. We will take a look at the sideboards and figure out if Jadine has a way to win this one. But first, a couple of messages from our sponsors. We are back, getting ready to watch more Todd Stevens and Jadine Klomparens do battle here early this morning from the Louisville Expo Center. Green-White Company and Jadine going to be on the play here for game number 2. I see 3 Fulminator Mages, 3 Collective Brutalities, 2 Nile Spellbombs, 2 Grafdigger's Cage, and 5 1-ofs in Grim Lavamancer, Engineered Explosives, Damnation, Liliana the Last Hope. Thoughtseize, how does she catch up?
I mean, there's not a whole lot here. I don't think you can bring in Grafdigger's Cage just to fight over Collected Company, though Klomparens may. I think the Grim Lavamancer, the Damnation, and perhaps the Thoughtseize are all fine. I don't mind the Liliana, but these are not cards that really help her play a more aggressive game. They're just more removal spells and ways to make the game slow down. And even with those tools, I think Stevens is a huge favorite if the game shapes up that way.
Well, for Stevens, he's already a favorite game number 1. That's why he's up 1. He's got 3 Surgical Extractions, 2 Engineered Explosives, 2 Reclamation Sage, 2 Stony Silence, and his 1-ofs are Eidolon of Rhetoric, Elspeth Sun's Champion, Eldritch Evolution, Gideon's Intervention, Kataki, War's Wage, and Warship.
Not a whole lot here, and that's primarily a function of Stevens doing most of his work in game 1. I think the 2 Explosives are fine. Klomparens has a lot of high-value 2s, and Stevens really doesn't have a whole lot going on in 2, so that's, I think, a fine card to come in. And I like the Gideon's Intervention and the Elspeth Sun's Champion.
Decent enough options here for both players, though I do think Jadine's still going to have a rough go of it here.
Yeah, I mean, she can't really speed up her deck, and it seems challenging to win a long game, and so what are you supposed to do?
It's a good question. You're going to take a lot of Bloodbraid Elves.
Or Tarmogoyf into removal spells and hope that Stevens doesn't have a path, and you can run him out of the game that way, but when the game settles in, even Klomparens had a Dark Confidant on the battlefield for how many turns? And got completely overwhelmed in card advantage. So,
well, these players are going to lay out their opening hands, get a good idea of what they're working with, and we'll be underway here for game number 2 in just a moment. Like we mentioned, very large day number 2 of competition here. Over 150 players as our cut is whatever's in 64th place, and exactly 64th was 6-3. So we've got a lot of them here. Jadine will start here with a Raging Ravine. Todd Stevens has a Forest and a Birds of Paradise. Klomparens with a Grafdigger's Cage. It did come in.
Okay.
Help slow down Collected Company. She'll take all the help she can get in this matchup, it appears.
Yeah, I guess Collected Company is such a singular issue that it's worth bringing in some narrow sideboard cards to fight over it.
Courser of Crewfix will resolve. Top card there for Stevens is a Windswept Heath. Klomparens will sacrifice a Wooded Foothills, dig out a land. And will be a copy of Blood Crypt. And we'll go to Jadine's third turn here in just a moment. Verdant Catacombs will be sacrificed with a little bit of oomph, followed up by a Liliana the Last Hope. Goodbye, Birds of Paradise. So some sideboard cards have certainly shown up here for Jadine, and that's going to help.
Yeah, good spot for Liliana, being able to pick off one of the mana creatures. It's a big win.
Wooded Foothills went to the battlefield there from the Courser off the top of the deck. Todd will gain a life. Temple Garden now on top of the deck. Liliana the Last Hope will fall down to 2 thanks to the Courser. Stevens will actually just play the Temple Garden from the top of his deck off of the Wooded Foothills and shuffle here. A little bit of shortcutting there from Todd.
Kind of. Just reversing the order. This is not a shortcut.
Rain-Up Excavator, Temple Garden the reveal. Let's go back over to Jadine. Treetop Village, Liliana of the Vale, minus Excavator down, plus on the Courser with the other Liliana, pass the turn back.
So this is this will be an interesting case study here. Can Klomparens win a long game if Stevens is cut off from Collected Company and Klomparens has several Planeswalkers?
Well, Stevens doesn't have a lot going on right now, and Jadine still has 2 active Planeswalkers as we head back over to her.
And it looks like Stevens' hand here is a Path, which doesn't have anything to do, Collected Company, which you can't cast, and 3 lands. And a Noble Hierarch on the top of the deck, though I suppose that's going to be shuffled away here momentarily.
I presume. Klomparens, nice little setup here.
Yeah, I mean, this is about as good as you can hope this game to shape up so far.
Looks like Liliana the Veil's going to go up. Both players will discard. Raging Ravine down, Collected Company down. Well, that speaks volumes.
And that is an interesting little bit of information there for Klomparens. If Stevens got rid of Collected Company, that to me suggests that he has nothing in his deck that can get a Grafdigger's Cage off the table. If he had any hope of getting it off the battlefield, he'd probably hold on to it at least for a little while.
I agree, especially because he's got some lands to discard.
Yep.
Plains here for Todd. Uh-oh.
Oh.
All right.
Interesting fun fact.
Talk to me.
I played against Todd Stevens and Jody Keith at the team tournament in Baltimore.
Yeah.
And we were playing Chad Castell playing Obzon against the Value Town. And Stevens, game 2 rather, up a game, and we had him on the ropes a little bit. And they take a draw step, and Stevens and Jody at the same time goes, "There's the girl," and plays Elspeth Suns Champion, and that was the end of that game.
That's game.
That was the end of that game. Yep. Another, harkening back a little bit more to that match, we had Liliana the Last Hope.
Oh, yeah.
And we were doing some plus and minusing stuff as the game was going on.
Okay.
And Stevens afterwards told me, that's a mistake. I can never beat a Liliana Ultimate. Go straight to the top as fast as you can and make the emblem and the game's over.
Well, maybe that's what Jadine will try doing.
And if Klomparens knows that, or, I mean, this game's taking the shape where Stevens is not going to do anything. She's going to end up getting to it regardless. But an interesting tidbit. Stevens admitted that ultimate, that emblem is, his deck is pretty much hopeless against it.
Well, it's interesting. You say that, right, that she's just going to go up to the top, but there's no guarantee. There could be a plan of, hey, I need a minus and maybe try to find a Dark Confidant on a Tarmogoyf or a Bloodbraid Elf.
Yep, it could happen, but Stevens would have to do something before that possibility entered the equation. And right now he's not really doing anything.
Well, we're going to start with the Tarmogoyf attack. Path to Exile will take care of that.
So one of my memories of that tournament is the Todd Stevens, Jody Keith. There's the girl.
Yep. You lose. All right, what comes next here for Jadine? Hasn't activated either Planeswalker yet. Ooze. That card in hand must be good. Plus. Looks like she wants to plus. I'm curious what the card is.
Well, you want to be able to Edict and still keep the Liliana around. So I think it's maybe questionable to get rid of the Bloodbraid Elf here, but I think she just wants to be able to pivot to Raging Ravine attacks.
Okay. I don't like that.
She got plenty to do with her mana. I mean,
pivoting to Raging Ravine attacks against the 4 Ghost Quarter guy.
Oh, well, the other part of it is you might hope that Stevens is squeezed on the Elspeth a little bit. Maybe he can't cast it, or he has to discard something high value. But we'll see now. I mean, this is kind of the cheat that Stevens has for spots like this. Elspeth is better than a lot of these decks, like your whole deck on the table.
I agree.
Although I suppose Klomparens can Edict and shoot something.
And get Elspeth down to 1.
Yeah, it can't. If it involves the Raging... Yeah, because the chump block on the Scavenging Ooze happens regardless. I was trying to see if there's some difference here if she fires up the Treetop Village instead because it has Trample.
Sure.
But I think it's the same thing. If she can peel a removal spell from one of the tokens here and have enough mana left over to animate the Treetop Village, she's also good because the 2 Lilianas can take care of the other 2 tokens.
All right, shoot that. Okay. Do this. Attack you. Block, block, little trample. Maybe a little trample. Okay, bring that down to 2. Big follow-up. Okay, timely lightning bolt.
Yep, that was the draw. Klomparens just tried to attack the most efficient way first, but that draw of lightning bolt was going to cover regardless, and Stevens now is out.
Yep, he is out. He is bottlenecked too much by those Planeswalkers, that large Scavenging Ooze. So Jadine Klomparens is going to win game number 2 here over Todd Stevens. You see the recipe there. A little bit of help from the sideboard cards and Grafdigger's Cage and Liliana the Last Hope. That can be an avenue to victory. We will prepare to watch the third and final one between these 2 great players in just a sec. Game number 3 about to be underway here between Todd Stevens and Jadine Klomparens. Jadine able to win game number 2 and tie this one up. So a little more green-white company and Jun to get your Sunday morning kicked off. Just the way I like it.
Yep. Liliana the Last Hope is problematic for Stevens' deck. I think his deck is not very good at attacking planeswalkers. It's kind of cumbersome on the table and not a whole lot in the way of creature keywords. Takes him a little time to cobble together some offense. A lot of the way of managing a planeswalker from his side is even if you have a planeswalker, I can generate so much advantage that it doesn't matter. I'll get around to killing it whenever. Liliana the Last Hope is sort of a different case because it suppresses the mana because the hierarchs and birds are all dying. It defends itself from Stevens' variety of 2-power attackers by the +2/-1 effect. And then the ultimate is actually lights out. So if you're seeing a lot of this green-white company deck, you're looking for some individual cards to help your matchup that do work in other places, Liliana the Last Hope is near or at the top of the list, I would say.
I agree. Todd Stevens off to a nice start here. Birds of Paradise off a Temple Garden. Haven't seen a discard spell from Jadine all match.
Might have cut him. Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
What are you gonna? His hands are so redundant with card advantage. Where are you gonna poke out of it? You know.
Noble Hierarch here.
And the games go on for a million turns, so you just can't afford dead draws. You got things just have to be live the whole game for her draw steps to allow her to keep up.
I think Scavenging Ooze is gonna bite the dust via Lightning Bolt.
And if Klomparens didn't bolt the mana creature, that suggests to me that her hand has either Damnation or Liliana the Last Hope.
Mm-hmm.
And Stevens is aware of that weirdness because it's not like the Scavenging Ooze is all that great here. And, you know, in theory, you would be interested in slowing down whatever his development is. But if you have Liliana the Last Hope, you probably let him flood the battlefield with mana creatures, pick apart the real stuff with your removal, and then sweep up with the +2/-1s.
Timely Cage again. Oh, boy. Well, he could have that, too.
Grim Lavamancer, that also makes some sense. And now Todd's hand definitely has a Collected Company. Or, sorry, that was an Excavator that I saw, but still, this is bad news.
Cage and Lavamancer.
I'll tell you, Klomparens' sideboard cards have definitely been brought to bear so far. The Grafdigger's Cage was a disaster for Stevens in game number 2. It's probably going to be problematic here. The Liliana the Last Hope, that was a lot of what determined game number 2. The Grim Lavamancer, if Stevens doesn't have a path here or something at Dramoka's command, it's really bad for him as well.
He's got a Ramonak Excavator, which is going to bring Windswept Heath back. But hey, if you draw a couple sideboard cards, they better be good.
Oh, yeah.
In Modern, your sideboard cards better be powerful.
And what's really great about this from Klomparens' perspective is it's not like these are cards for the green-white company matchup.
Yep.
Grim Lavamancer, Grafdigger's Cage is a little bit more narrow, but the Damnation, Liliana the Last Hope, Grim Lavamancer, bring in these cards all the time. And a lot of Jun sideboards look weird. You know, like why would you have a copy of this card that just seems kind of generally fine? It's weird. But a lot of the sideboarding involves, well, I've got 4 or 5 cards I don't want, and so I need to be able to bring in 4 or 5 cards in all these matchups. I need things that can do double and triple duty, that can come in against a variety of opponents. So they need to be a little bit more broad. They're not going to be super narrow hate cards for the most part, unless you're trying to clean up particular matchups. Mm-hmm. So you see 3 copies of Fulminator Mage because Tron's a problem, and you need particular cards for Tron. But past that, the sideboard is just kind of stuff for people.
Yeah, it's just stuff that does stuff.
That's stuff for...
It's all pretty high leverage stuff, though. You know, it's all pretty powerful.
High leverage stuff,
yep.
Exactly. But it's you got some stuff for spells, you got some stuff for creatures, you got some stuff for graveyards, and that's pretty much what the sideboard is.
And you mix it up enough that it does a lot of the same stuff, but it does it in different ways.
Yep.
Which is also nice. Grafdigger's Cage is a little bit different than Nile Spellbomb.
Well, you also want to be multi-dimensional, too, because if your sideboard's just a bunch of Grafdigger's Cages, what if Stevens can blow up Grafdigger's Cage? What if the game isn't about Collected Company and you just lose other stuff? But a couple cages, a couple anti-creature measures, and it's very likely that her cards can line up the right way.
All right. Lavamancer going to shoot down Noble Hierarch.
Although bad news here for Klomparens missing her land drop, because that's going to it's bad for the reasons it's obviously bad. and then it's going to really damage her development with this Grim Lavamancer and the rest of her hand. She wants to be in a position where she's going, cast a spell, crack a fetch land, kill a thing, rinse, repeat.
Yep.
And that's problematic now, missing a land drop and having no graveyard.
And Ghost Quarter going to come into play there for Todd Stevens. Trigger the Courser. Top card of his deck, as you can see, is a Knight of the Reliquary. Scavenging Ooze for Klomparens. No lands, however, for the Jund player, who's off to such a great start. But Todd Stevens is starting. Oh boy, Todd Stevens is starting to get the ball rolling here a little bit. Engineer Explosives is a nice one to find.
Yeah, like I said, not surprising to see the explosives come in, mostly because Klomparens has a lot of high-value two-cost cards, and Stevens really doesn't. So that's an easy one. But we're in a spot right now where I'm sure Stevens would gladly give up the Birds of Paradise to get rid of the Grim Lavamancer and particularly the Grafdigger's Cage.
I agree. We'll see Knight of the Reliquary here in a moment, too, I think. And that Engineer Explosives could turn this entire game around.
Yeah. And it's a couple fronts, too. I mean, not only just getting rid of the ones, but if Klomparens' play next turn is just, I've got another 2-mana creature that I'm going to play, do you play that into the face of the Engineer Explosives?
It's a tough decision. Because
or do you just say go, and that's really bad, too? It's a tough squeeze.
Yeah. Uh-oh, he's going to Value Town.
Well, he's got Excavator Plus. I mean, this is a... So, I'm sure Stevens has a plan over the long game to really leverage his Ghost Quarters. In the short term, it's a little bit risky, I think, because just giving Klomparens some stuff to work with in her graveyard to make the Lavamancer do anything is a little bit risky. Now, I guess if Klomparens only has the one mountain in her deck, I assume she has one or zero.
Most people don't play a mountain.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case,
because of Blood Moon.
If you're confident that's the case, then go ahead and cut her off of red,
yeah.
And then you don't have to worry about the Lavamancer at all.
Yeah, the thing that Todd can do here that he's doing with Ghost Quarter is he can feel free to do this, so that Fatal Push is pretty nice. Though this is not the card she really wants to Fatal Push.
Right.
But she has to stop Excavator from it doing its thing. But the thing Todd can do is he can fire this off and still develop his battlefield like he's doing right now. Mm-hmm. Lavamancer now is basically a blank card. It was kind of a blank card beforehand because killing the birds, sure, but Todd's got plenty of mana to work with, and it's kind of like what you mentioned. He would trade the birds for a Lavamancer and a Grafdigger's Cage.
No question.
Yeah, and the Lavamancer's not killing anything else. So he's free to just kind of let it rip here with these Ghost Quarters. Klomparens needs to find lands.
And from this line of play from Todd, I think it's good in the short term because Klomparens is now off of red mana and missing land drops, and it's good, and it's also good in the long term that if you happen to draw another Excavator and set up that plus Ghost Quarter, you can start really working over mana. She's got 4 basics in her deck. She can't handle a whole lot of these sequences.
Yep. Plains line on the battlefield there for the Courser. Trigger to gain a little bit of life. Tireless Tracker on top of the deck. I think you're going to see the explosives now for one. And now Stevens will blow this up, it appears, right away. And he will. So Cage and Lavamancer will bite the dust. You see Stevens point the Cage.
Special note, that one matters.
Yeah. Path to Exile is going to take care of the Scavenging Ooze.
Yeah, and Stevens might not know exactly how many basics are in Klomparens' deck, but he has a general sense that it's not that many, and I think he can start getting very aggressive with these Path and Ghost Quarters because she's going to run out.
Now, the one thing that Stevens needs to be a little bit wary of, though he is going to be attacking for a pretty healthy amount here. Curious to see how much the attack's going to be for. You know, that Damnation's certainly in the back of my head right now.
For sure. But he's got the nice insurance policy is he's got a Tireless Tracker on top.
There's an attack for 2. I'm not attacking with the Knight of the Reliquary. Interesting.
I think, Todd is, like you mentioned, there's some risk here about a sweeper or a removal spell, and I think he just wants to accrue as much value as possible to insulate himself from his whole board getting blown up. if you knocked it Klomparens down to 4 and she damnations you, that's really bad. If instead she's at 9 and you have an extra land for your trouble, or you've blown up one more thing, I think that's just quite a bit better.
Yeah, if you're Todd Stevens, and this is actually a really interesting case here, you can't Ghost Quarter this way unless you know what a Jund deck list looks like. Which, okay, how many Jund deck lists play Mountain? Virtually 0.
It's very rare.
Because having a basic Mountain against Blood Moon is useless, so you want to be able to have forests and swamps.
Right.
So most people do not play a Mountain. So how many basics do most people play? It's normally 2 swamps, 1 forest, or 2 forests, 1 swamp. Jadine has an additional basic in the deck. Sure, that's great. But if you're Todd, you've seen 4 basics. The chances of her having more than 4 basics is extremely low. So now these Ghost Quarters work themselves into strip mines.
Yep.
And you can just keep going that direction.
And you keep her off of double black, and most of the cards you're most concerned about in this position, Liliana the Veil, Damnation, they require double black. So if you're confident that she's out of swamps, not only are you running her out of mana and basics to find, but you're cutting her off of the cards you're most concerned about.
But the only way that you can do this is format knowledge.
Yes.
He's not guessing.
Right.
These are very informed Ghost Quarters.
You probably have 3 or 4 basics, and I can start making plays with that idea in mind.
Second Cage. Now, one thing to note is Todd did give up on that Tireless Tracker to be able to make this Ghost Quarter play.
Yep.
The top card of his deck now is Horizon Canopy. Still a perfectly fine card, but not as good as Tracker against Jund. Jadine's going to go down to 6, which leads me to believe she's going to be searching for a duel. Yep. I thought it might be one that provides red mana, but she'll get Overgrown Tomb instead. Let's see what this is. Maelstrom Pulse. Gotta go after the Knight, yeah. Todd will sacrifice his fetch. He'll lose a life and gain a life. I'm very curious to see what the top card of his deck is going to be here. There's Temple Garden. Remember, Todd still has that. He still has that Collected Company in hand.
Yep.
So that second Cage is going to brick wall that. It's actually kind of a big draw step here for Stevens. Not what the doctor ordered.
No.
Next card.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah, that warrants a reaction. Jadine down to 4. She might be able to work her way out of this.
Yeah, still cut off of red, and she has to be very careful about how she's fetching because she's going to be one and done on her red mana sources most likely. I assume if she ever exposes one of them, Todd's going to blow it up with that Ghost Quarter.
This is going to be a Scavenging Ooze maybe? Be a Tarmogoyf. Pass that turn back. Voice of Resurgence the draw. Next card. Hello.
Hello!
If one's good, 2 must be better.
Yeah. I was about to say, Todd's in this position where lands are good and spells are good, but I'm wrong.
We got a hater in the house.
Is he going to collect a company here just to reset the top of his deck?
I think if that's true, I love it. Here's Voice. Pass the turn back. We'll get a Tarmo die out there, let you know how large a Tarmogoyf is. Yeah, if he were to company buy, that would be great.
I want to give my deck a rinse.
Yeah. You're gonna Voice of Resurgence.
Hello. Coming in hot.
Yeah. Has Voice of Resurgence caused you a lot of pain and agony over the years?
No, not really.
Seems like it'd be good against the style of decks you play.
Maybe a little bit, but not
unbeatable. It's not Spellskite, right?
No, Spellskite's really good. No. I mean, in the spots where, it is actually doing something, it's not that much different from any other card they could be playing.
Sure.
And when you're just hailing down on them from above, the Voice is just kind of scoping out the action, not really doing a whole lot.
I think Jadine has fallen down to 1 here.
Yep.
Is this Bloodbraid? All right, trigger. That will That'll probably work.
That's not shabby. You can get that voice off the table. Getting a little bit of life for your trouble.
Yeah.
Modern Open players, that is time.
That's a good one to discard.
Yep.
Once again, Modern Open players, this is the end of round 10.
Company down. Can't rinse your deck now. There's going to be a drain and discard.
Yeah, you're stuck with that voice.
Jadine up to 3. Top card. Township.
Ooh, oh boy.
Trigger. He's 1 mana away from Elspeth Sun's Champion. Now the Reliquary on top of the deck. Voice and Numero Dos. Ghost Quarter your red source.
And I was interested about that because I thought Stevens might, try to hold off for land 6, but he's really trying to just cut her off of 1 color of mana and make her win as a green-black deck. It's very hard to do.
Treetop Village enters the battlefield tap. Top card, Path to Exile here. Neither Reliquary there. Stevens is making life very difficult here for Klomparens. He's built up a pretty decent battlefield. He's got a path on top of the deck.
And Klomparens is out of basics at this point. So.
And that is going to do it. Todd Stevens going to win this match here over Jadine Klomparens. 2-1. Green-White Company outduels Jund. And for your 2017 SCG Tour Player of the Year, it's a 9-1 start here in